Hello to every Mad Magician. My name is Ehron and this is Mad Magic. Today we're going to have an overview of all the subjects that you will have in grade 12 which will involve math on it. In our episode that tackles about the grade 11 overview, I have told you that you guys will have a total of 5 math subjects, taking the notion that you will not take them all in just one strand. If you guys want an overview of all the lessons that you will have in grade 11 subjects, then please check out the link that you'll see right here. Alright, speaking of becoming a grade 12 student, here's the great news. You will have no calculus in grade 12. The reason for that is because you have already encountered calculus when you were in grade 11, particularly the basics of that subject which you must learn as a senior high school student before stepping into your college years. Also, those calculus subjects that you have learned in grade 11 became a prerequisite for you to unlock these subjects in grade 12. Particularly General Physics 1 and 2 and General Chemistry and other subjects, because if you may not know, these subjects that you're going to learn in grade 12 makes use of your learnings or the application of what you have learned in calculus. So there is no way that you will be learning them again or further in grade 12. But you will still have mathematical subjects. But they are within a subject that does not really focus a lot about mathematics, such as research-related subjects and sciences, which becomes much more interesting to learn because at least we are given a reason why these calculations exist and their importance. By the way, this video only talks about subjects that you will have in grade 12 that will involve math on it. So without further ado, let us start our grade 12 overview. I divided the subjects into 2 categories for you to be aware which subject highlights the most math. There are the research-related subjects and the science-related ones. Let us start with the first category we have in hand, the research-related subjects, which are composed of practical research 2, increased investigation and immersion, and research project. These are the subjects that I consider very important as they are the ones that will guide you in your research, a project that you'll be dealing with the entire school year. You will be having a research from a different category. If you had a research that falls within the qualitative category when you were in grade 11, then in grade 12, you will be having a study that falls in the quantitative category, which deals with statistics and numerical values all over your research paper, which is a much more fun and reliance-employing research because studies of this type produce accurate results and definite conclusions compared to the former qualitative research that makes use of people's words to generate implications about the topic and conclusions to it, plus detecting the person's expressions while delivering his or her opinions, which makes the study appear to be more subjective, even in all aspects. Okay, so moving on to the lessons under it, let us first start with practical research 2. So here's a notebook that I used to write my lectures on practical research 2, and as you can see, it is a green notebook, and the lectures here on this subject are in line with another lectures of a different subject, which is research project, and both of these subjects are actually research-related subjects. So with practical research 2, you're going to learn here about the differences between research and inquiry, and then the definition of quantitative research, then the differences of the different types of research, and the different types of research design, the different research variables, and the different sampling techniques, and so on, until we reach the part where we are going to use mathematics, which is the measures of central tendency, which is basically computing for the mean, median, and mode of both group and ungrouped data. You're also going to learn there about how to compute for the standard deviation and the variance. That's also included with the measures of central tendency. And then next would be learning about the other statistical methods that you can use for your research, and it's up to your teacher if he or she will give you all the different statistical methods in the form of definition of terms, or they're also going to give you a formula plus a problem that you can solve using that statistical method. Next would be research project. This is also a subject similar to practical research too. It's just that research project will be focusing more on giving several pieces of advice to all the groups that you will have in your class soon. Because different class and different groups in a class have different researches, this means that they will receive different pieces of advice. Also, your teacher will give you other lectures for you to be able to understand how to make a good research paper, also how to choose the right statistical method, how to make the best methodology, and others. Next would be increased investigation and immersion. which is just basically research itself. It is an interesting subject because they're going to give you the guidelines on how you can make a well-constructed conclusion, well-constructed summary findings, and recommendation down to appendices. There are also some maths involved, such as the one-way ANOVA and then measures of central tendency again, which would be asking you to find the mean, median, and mode of a group and ungroup data. Then right after that would be the other guidelines that they're going to have for your research project. They're also going to teach you how to write your appendices well. They're also going to teach you what are the parts of the appendices and then how to deal with those appendices parts. So this is actually the notebook that I use for writing my lectures on this subject, and it's also together with another set of lectures from a different subject, which is Filipino sa Akademikong Larangan, and it is a subject that you guys will have if you will become a grade 12 student here in the Philippines. So it's actually a Adventure Time comfort notebook because I like this cartoon, and so I purchased its notebooks. I also have other Adventure Time notebooks I have in my shelf, and some of them already have lectures on them, while some do not. With this subject, you'll be able to develop the eye for panelists. This is because teachers of this subject will be giving you some sample papers in which they do not follow the guidelines. So what you're going to do here is that you're going to investigate what makes this paper violate those guidelines, what elements are missing on this paper. So those are actually questions that you must answer when investigating this kind of research paper. Again, the different research-related subjects that involve math on it are Practical Research 2, Increased Investigation Immersion, and Research Project. Lastly, you will have the science-related subjects, which are General Physics 1 and 2 and General Chemistry 2. General Physics 1 is going to be a subject that you'll be having in the first semester, while its second counterpart will be taken in the second semester. General Physics 1 only retackles the physics or science lessons you had in the previous grade levels, especially in grade 8 and in elementary levels. But here, an expansion of those lessons you learned will be given. Here is a lecture notebook that I used to write my notes regarding General Physics 1 and 2. And before I made this episode, I was able to write down all the lessons that I had in both of these subjects in the last 3 pages of this notebook. So if you would see, General Physics 2 consumed 2 of the 3 last pages of my notebook, and because comparing that to General Physics 1, although it really is supposed to be also consuming 2 pages, well, it can already just fit in 1 page because like the titles are not that long enough compared to General Physics 2, in which some titles are almost fitting the end of the page. So what I did is that I just really put it on another page. So reviewing the lessons that you will have in General Physics 1 is that the first part of this subject, you will learn the differences between scalar and vector quantities plus derived quantities. So you guys have to learn about them beforehand. Next will be about converting units to a different unit of the same category it belongs to. For example, if we talk about converting 1 liter to cubic meters, how much would that be? Next is learning about the scientific notation. It includes how you transform a standard answer that involves several decimal places into a notation that only consists of a few numbers with a times 10 and an index, which indicates how many zeros does that number have. Right after that would be the significant figures. I know we've learned this lesson for a few times already, but if you guys have forgotten about it, then this would be the perfect time for you to study about it once again. Next, you would learn about vectors. All you have to do in there is just to add and subtract the distance traveled in specific directions. But if the direction forms a right triangle, then it's time to apply the Pythagorean theorem on the solution. Vectors can involve 2 directions or even 3 or more, and sometimes involving an angle. So if you guys want to search them right now, then you better do so. Right after that, you will learn about one-dimension kinematics, average, speed and velocity, acceleration, and free fall. One-dimension kinematics talk about motion in 1 dimension, which means that the motion can only be from left to right or vice versa. We could be measuring in there the distance traveled from left to right or the other way around. There are also some problems in which a person or a thing would travel from left to right, then back to the left, or from right to left, then back to the right. Average, speed, and velocity, as the name suggests, is a lesson in physics that talks about measuring the average speed of a car or a thing as it travels certain distances, particularly from point A to point B, with respect to time, of course. Remember to take note that speed and velocity are different from each other. Although they both talk about how fast the vehicle is, speed is only limited to be giving out positive values, not like the velocity, which can be negative. Then a lesson regarding acceleration will teach you how the acceleration of a material is computed. Lastly, you guys will learn about free fall. From the words separated by syllables, free and fall, this lesson talks about how fast and how far the material traveled from the point where it began falling down to the point where it landed. There's going to be a formula you can use for that. Next on the list are the lessons that we had on the finals of the first semester, and one of them is the 3 laws of motion by Isaac Newton, which are the law of inertia, law of acceleration, and the law of interaction. There are actually certain formulas that you will have in each law, so better learn about those formulas beforehand. Next, we have this work, energy, and power when it comes after 3 laws of motion. You're going to learn each of the words in the name of the lesson. You should be able to differentiate all of those 3 things, and as well as to solve several problems regarding work, energy, and power. And just like all other lessons I previously mentioned, you should be able to give an application of those lessons in real life situations. Then you will learn about collision. There are actually 2 types of collision, the elastic and the inelastic collision. With learning those 2 types of collision, you'll be able to understand the reason why they differ in their formulas. Also, you should be able to solve several problems concerning those 2 types of collision, and as well as to visualize and give a real life situation that illustrates how those 2 types of collision happen in this world. So if you guys want to have an advanced learning regarding that topic, then feel free to do so. Next is regarding the center of mass. This is all about identifying the center of mass of a single object or in a set of objects. There's actually a formula you can use for that, which you can see right here. However, this only applies to finding the center of mass of a single object. But if you guys are finding for the center of mass in multiple objects, such as 2 or more objects, then you would have to add more elements in this formula, where m is the mass of the object and x is the distance of the object from the first object, because the first object's value of x is always equal to 0. The other things that you will learn here in General Physics 1 are rotational equilibrium and rotational dynamics, gravity, periodic motion, which makes you relate the amplitude, frequency, angular, period, displacement, velocity, and acceleration of oscillating systems. When you talk of an oscillating system, it means this kind of graph. You can see how the graph forms a wave from the left side to the right side of the graph. Its sub-lessons will be simple harmonic motion and damped and driven oscillation. Next is mechanical and sound, in which you will learn about sound, wave intensity, interference and beats, standing waves, and the Doppler effect. Fluid mechanics, which will talk about pressure and its difference to depth relation, specific gravity, and principles of Pascal, Archimedes, and Bernoulli. Temperature and heat, which is your first step to learning this next lesson, ideal gases and the laws of thermodynamics, as temperature and heat talks about the 0th law of thermodynamics and temperature measurement, thermal expansion, heat and heat capacity, and calorimetry. The ideal gases and the laws of thermodynamics talks about the ideal gas law and other components, such as the other laws of thermodynamics, specifically the first and the second. So in all the lessons I've previously mentioned, you need to learn them in advance for you to successfully pass this subject. Now let us move on to the second counterpart of this subject that you will learn in the second semester, which is none other than General Physics 2. This subject is full of lessons regarding electricity and magnetism. The first lesson that you will have in this subject will be all about electric charges. And it's a lesson that will not just teach you that protons, electrons, and neutrons exist in this world, but rather they're also going to tell you how strong the protons and electrons are in coulombs. And that's the unit that you'll be dealing with for the rest of the semester. The other lessons that you will learn in this subject include electric flux, Gauss law, electric potential and electric potential energy, electric current, which involves learning about the Ohm's law, the power, resistance, voltage, then the types of circuits, which are the series, parallel, and combination of both types. There are also other types than that, which you would have to search in the net. With each of these types of circuits, by the way, you are going to use the same set of formulas, which are these. But here would be a different application of it across circuits of different kinds. The next set of lessons that you will learn will focus more on magnetism, such as Hans-Orst's discovery, Faraday's law of induction, which will include learning about the magnetic flux and the electromotive force, or what they call the EMF. Alright, we are finally done with our overview of General Physics 1 and 2. But we still have one subject remaining, and that is General Chemistry 2. This is the notebook that I use to write my lectures on General Chemistry 2, and it is along with another subject, and that is Media and Information Literacy. This is also one of the subjects that you guys will be dealing with when you will become a grade 12 student. And it's a subject that's available in the STEM strand, but I'm also sure that this subject would also be on other strands such as ICT or TVL, HE, and whatever strands this subject may be in. But if you guys have this subject is totally fun for you to learn, and it's really interesting. Okay, so the lessons here in General Chemistry 2 that would only use mathematics will include determining the concentration of hydronium and the concentration of hydroxide in a specific solution, and also in balancing chemical equations. If you guys want a full set of formulas that you can use for General Physics 1 and 2 classes, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel now and make this video reach 250 likes. But if you guys are watching on Facebook, then please follow my Facebook page now and make this video reach 250 shares. And that's all for grade 12 math overview. See you guys again on another video of Math Magic. My name is Ehron. Tell me to stay safe and keep following Math Magic. Bye!